when I write high, man, it's like there's a symphony playing in my mind. You know, it's like there's music, then music comes through words, and there's like lights and fucking there's dancing going on in my head. When I'm high, there's a lot of shit happening. When I'm sober, I'm like slowly piecing it together. It's like the difference between typing with your fingers when you don't know how to type, when you're just using your index finger and you're going T, H, A. It's different. And when you can type when you don't even have to. You know, like right now, I can type. I don't have to look at the keys. I know how to type. Especially if I get loose and I get relaxed. It's that much of a difference. It's like it flows. It's like it connects you to whatever the fuck it is. Whatever it is that makes you creative, it connects you to it better.
Scientists located two receptors, cannabinoid receptors, one called the CB1 receptor, mainly in the brain, and the other is the CB2 receptor, which is mainly in cells of the immune system.
The CB1 receptors are extremely abundant in the brain, but they're also found all over the body in the major organs, the heart, the liver, kidneys, and pancreas, because the CB2 receptor can act like a target for the cannabinoids. Once they bind with the receptor, they can tell the cancer cell to die.
So basically telling the cells basically to commit suicide, and that's what they do. And we demonstrated that that would be the mechanism by which the cannabinoids can kill the cancer, and therefore it can be used effectively as an anti-cancer agent.
Dr. Nagar-Katti and his researchers were able to eradicate almost 100% of the cancer in test tubes. But they were skeptical they would see similar results when they moved on to tumors in mice.
To our surprise, we found that almost 25 to 30% of the mice completely rejected the tumor. They were completely cured. And in addition, we found that the remaining mice also, there was a significant reduction in the volume or the size of the tumors as well.
The lab results have been so promising that Dr. Nagar-Katti is beginning clinical trials with leukemia patients.
California was the first state to make medical marijuana legal back in 1996. Now, for the first time ever, a federal agency has recognized that marijuana does have medical benefits. Last week, the National Cancer Institute added a summary of marijuana's possible benefits to its treatment database. It reads, quote, the potential benefits of medicinal, cannabis for people living with cancer include antiemetic, I hope I got that right, effects, appetite stimulation, pain relief, and improved sleep. In the practice of interactive oncology, the healthcare provider may recommend medicinal cannabis not only for symptom management, but also for its possible direct anti-tumor effect. So that's a lot of medical benefits. This new assessment from the National Cancer Institute could have an impact on the classification of marijuana as a Schedule I drug. That's the harshest possible drug degree classification. One of the main criteria for a Schedule I drug is that, quote, the drug or other substance has no currently accepted medical use in treatment in the United States. Now, if a federal agency has recognized the medicinal benefits of marijuana, technically it shouldn't be moved down to a Schedule III drug. But a change of scheduling for pot could also mean an end to the federal government using a tax law loophole to put medical marijuana shops out of business. For years, the IRS has been citing Section 280E of the tax code that blocks medical shops from getting business tax deductions. It reads, quote, no deduction or credit shall be allowed for any amount paid if such trade or business consists of trafficking in controlled substances within the meaning of Schedule I and 2 of Controlled Substances Act. So if pot ends up becoming a Schedule III drug, this loophole that the feds are using would have no standing. Do you understand the importance of this? Then they could not bust all those shops that are selling marijuana. Finally, the government has admitted, you know what, medical marijuana does have benefits. Now, can we stop this madness? It's been nearly 75 years on this war on drugs. It's not working.
What's it like to feel like a patient, but to be treated like a criminal when you try to help yourself?
See, what's really kind of crazy about this is that, you know, I spent 22 years in the United States military in two branches of our service, the Marine Corps and the Navy, supporting and defending this Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I just came back from Afghanistan 2 weeks ago. Went over and visited our troops there in the battlefield to make sure that somebody recognized that we still remember them. So, you know, I feel like this. If I'm defending this Constitution for all of us, why do I not have the right to the same rights that this government has given other people? Because I want to start right at the beginning of this. Today, thank you. You're doing something today that nobody's attempted to do, and that's tell the truth. Let's do that today, because I say this only to say to you that our federal government for the last 22 years has been distributing marijuana in a special program through the University of Mississippi. Started with 20 patients, it's now down to 4 that are still alive. 16 of them have passed away. Every 17th of the month, our government sends out a canister of marijuana that we grow. Your taxpayer dollars pay for. So when you say, what does it feel like to be a criminal? I feel like if I put my life on the line and our government says it's okay to give it to 4 people, how dare you look me in the face and tell me I don't have a right to be paid free? So, come on, guys. You know, I'm not asking for anything special.
All right, let me just explain to everybody real quick what MS is. We're on the same page. Multiple sclerosis is when your immune system goes crazy, goes haywire. Yes. And instead of protecting you against foreign invaders, which you've done for our nation, you know, viruses and bacteria, it begins to attack your own cells, and it causes that intense pain that you have all the time. Talk to me a little bit about this, because this to me is the crux of the issue. What does medical use of marijuana do for you that other drugs cannot do?
If we just pay attention to the science and the truth. Since I started using marijuana every day, you can check my MRIs. I've not had one additional plaque form in my brain.
Huh.
Now, wait a second, I am off, that's a fact, Dr. Oz. That is a fact.
It's crazy.
You can take a look at the science, and I have been willing to put myself and my MRIs up in front of any medical board in the country. Now, I've been seen by doctors at the Nobel Institute. For the longest time, my lead doctor for MS was 4 years ago signatory to the Nobel Peace Prize for Neurology, Dr. Thomas Olson. I've seen my Dr. Weiner out of Harvard. I've seen my Dr. Calabrese at Johns Hopkins. All of these doctors know that this has been my choice. Why? Because, boss, I've been down the path. How about 7, 8 Oxycontins a day? I was on so many opiums that I stopped going to the bathroom. My kidneys started acting up. It was time to say enough. I found something that keeps me a contributing member of this society, a taxpayer member of this society, and I am not robbing any banks. And if we just tell the truth, this is all I want to do. The most recent study just came out from the University of San Diego this year that espoused and proved, number one, that this is one of the lead choices that a doctor should have when it comes to an illness like mine. So, you know, come on, I'd like to ask the President of the United States today, how dare you sign an appropriations bill every year to pay to continue to research marijuana at the University of Mississippi and send it out to other people and look me in the face after I put I'm in the uniform. He never wore one. So I put my life on the line for this country.
All right, so what Montel's asking to do, you said it several times, to tell the truth. We want to bring some clarity to this issue. That's the purpose of this show today. So here's the dilemma. 2 of the leading medical groups in America have both stated that marijuana may be helpful as a medicine. So Montel is right, and they're saying it should be studied.
A number of the studies that we did were on painful peripheral neuropathy because it's such a hard syndrome to treat, and there aren't really effective therapies. Opioids don't really work. Acupuncture is plus minus. Most people use anti-seizure medicines, and I think all the studies from the University of California Center for Medicinal Cannabis Research have shown that cannabis is very useful for peripheral neuropathy. We took patients with chronic pain who were taking an opioid, either morphine extended release or oxycodone extended release, and we exposed them to vaporized cannabis for 5 days. And we looked at the impact on the level of the opioid, the morphine or the oxycodone, in their bloodstream and the impact on their pain. And we're in the process of writing that one up, but it was very interesting, and it supports what we thought was going to happen, in that the blood levels of the opioid, either the morphine or the oxycodone, were actually decreased, but pain relief was increased with the cannabis. So, you know, that's a very interesting finding. Other studies have been conducted in patients with multiple sclerosis. Again, many patients with multiple sclerosis report decrease in spasticity, decrease in pain, increased mobility, increased mood, improved mood when participating in these studies.
One thing that strikes me here is our last 3 presidents have all admitted that in their youth they used drugs. And presumably they don't think it would have been good for them if they had been arrested and incarcerated. And I'm guessing that they don't think it would be good for the country if they had been arrested and incarcerated before they started their political careers. So I just do not understand the psychology of knowing that what you did in your youth, that your life would have been ruined if you had been arrested for doing. How can you arrest 1 million people a year for doing what you did?
Why hasn't there been more education on the benefits of decriminalization in foreign countries like Portugal?
Well, those of us who know about it have tried to educate. The Portugal story was not known, but is getting better known. It's been in important magazines, Newsweek, The Economist. It's been on television.
Let's just tell the story, which is that they decriminalize totally, and crime has gone down and drug use has gone down.
In fact, the U.S. drug czar went over there recently to try to get some evidence to refute this study, but if he got it, I haven't heard the refutation.
And I don't like, obviously, the cigarettes, and I don't like the drugs or anything. But I'll tell you what, as bad as I don't like those drugs, I really don't like the drug war. I think it's much more dangerous. A lot more people have died in the drug wars than they die from the drugs. Matter of fact, more people die from prescription drugs than they do from the illegal drugs. So they're not doing very much good by having the drugs legalized either. But we have a tremendous task ahead of us, and we don't have the same attitude that we had when they wanted to make alcohol illegal. You know, that's pretty good. They worked for 50, 60, 70 years to get the country to agree that alcohol was bad stuff. And I agree with them. Alcohol is bad. So they come along and they say, well, we're going to prohibit it because we're going to stop people from practicing these bad habits, and they have bad consequences. But what did they do? They amended the Constitution. Can you imagine anybody today suggesting we have to amend the Constitution to run the drug war? The drug war was started in the modern day drug war was started basically in the early 70s. And they have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on the drug war. We have more prisoners than anybody else in the world. And we have a lot of people who were put into these prisons. They were non-violent, and they come out very violent. So I say that it's time we allow people to make their own choices and suffer their own consequences. If they make bad choices, they can't come crawling to the government.